are listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast, conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us on bringjoyforward.com and join us in our community group on Facebook. We now take you to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. I am Shannon Dias with Imaginative Media, and we are joined with Shannon Brown, Open Door Healing, and Shaman Mystical Crow from Sacred Temple Wellness. And today we're going to talk about the very serious subject of laughter and being silly and getting that out. And this all stems because I had an experience last night where I was laughing so hard that my cheeks hurt. And I am a type of person who laughter just kind of is there, intrinsic. It's the last thing to go, even in the most traumatic of situations. And so when it wasn't, I realized last night that it hadn't been there for a little bit, like that, I hadn't laughed like that in a while. And so that was kind of like a wake-up call for me. And I thought it kind of interesting too, because like as a holistic practitioner, I have all these things, as do the two of you, where we kind of do a pretty good job, I think, of taking care of ourselves and what we need and recognize it and doing the things and all of that. And so for me, the fact that I didn't recognize that this was a thing was like a little bit of a wake-up call for me. And then also it's a little bit of a challenge because that's an organic part of who I am, that laughter being their intrinsic last part to go, inserting play, all of these different things. And I think it's the same for all of us. That's kind of there for all of us. It's part of who we are and our, we're ingrained to be that way. And so it was a little bit kind of a awakening too, where we're often guiding others through a situation and how to bring these different practices into our lives. And that was a situation for me where I was like, wait, this isn't normal for me. I have to think about how I do this intentionally again. So I thought we kind of start with that. Like, how does that feel for us? What do we do? What are some things that we do to kind of bring it into practice?
Well, I brought some joy into my life this week by buying this cute little cat. I don't need another Christmas thing, but she is so cute. She brings me so much joy, and she's probably going to be on my desk throughout the year forever. I mean, she makes me laugh, and unlike my real cat, she doesn't scratch or bite. So she brings me joy. So that's just, and I kind of have most days a built-in laughter factory because of my grandkids. But last night, I had Caden early, and then Cora, who's 3, Caden's 5. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and I have a can of coins, okay? And it's like it has a lid on it. And so he was opening them up, and he was taking them out and putting them in, and then Cora wanted it. So I opened it up, and she's putting it in there, and I just pretended that I was going, oh, that's so yummy. Is that banana or strawberry? And she just started laughing uncontrollably. First time I have heard my granddaughter really, really laugh. Like her personality is really coming in. And then Caden took over, and he did his, made it a monster or something. And I mean, for 5 minutes, they laughed over coins in this tin can. And so, and of course I'm laughing, but it brought such joy to me because seriously, I think it's the first time I've heard her laugh, because she's always been a very serious little girl. So like I said, I kind of have a built-in because I'm around my grandkids a lot, but it's important. And that just came into my head, to have something built in. Like if we're not feeling the laughter, okay, I need to watch Silly Cats. My grandson loves to watch Silly Cats on YouTube, and we laugh together about it because they are pretty silly. So there's an idea. Find something, if you like to watch the Three Stooges or I Love Lucy or some of those old, or King Tut by Steve Martin. I mean, those old ones that really made us laugh out loud, right?
Going way back.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little older, but if you pull up King Tut by Steve Martin, I think it's even relevant to now. It's pretty funny, but maybe not. Anyway, your turn.
That's a good segue, because laughter is something, I mean, that's always been a thing in my life. Like Shannon Dias, it's like the last thing that usually suffers. Um, but I don't recognize it necessarily when I do. Like, and me and my family especially, we have a very different outlook on things. So we laugh at the most inappropriate stuff. And that level is like up here with my sister. So last year, last year was a very big roller coaster for me. So a lot of that laughter kind of went away. And the thing is with laughter is it's a heightened emotion. So same thing as like anger and all that other kind of stuff. Or like, hey, we need to, release anger and do all that other stuff. Well, what are you doing to bring it back in? You got to fill that empty void with something. Laughter literally is the best medicine. Laughter is also key in communal bonding. Like that's how you really connect with somebody. That's how you let your walls down. That's how you do that is you have like a mutual laughter. So last year being the roller coaster it was, I didn't get to see my sister too much. She lives a few hours away from me. And we got together last year for I can't even start to tell this story. I'm gonna be tearing this whole time. I can't,
That's
we
okay.
finally got to see each other for New Year's. And we went to this big exhibit over here, Grounds for Sculpture. It's like this very like it's an outdoor artistic kind of thing. So they have like local artists from all over the place, and they've made like this massive sculptures and things and crazy, really, really cool stuff. And they had it all lit up. So they were calling it like lightscapes and stuff. So you went there at nighttime and they had it all lit up with all different like light tubes and lanterns, and they put like projections on the sculptures and all that other kind of stuff. So we're already hysterical laughing because the two of us are together, and I haven't laughed in such a long time like that heavy that it like I guess it just kept building. I didn't realize it was at this point. So I'm making fun of her and laughing because she forgot her glasses. So she can't see a thing. Like she's just blind. Everything is a blur. All that stuff. She's walking into stuff, walking into people. So we're already hysterical laughing. And then all of a sudden, me and her notice a crowd. There's a crowd by this like one kind of pathway that has no lights. So if they didn't want you going that way, they didn't have any lights on it. But at the end of this path, we ended up finding out was actually sculptures of people coming out of the little pond that was there. Like it was weird. Like these people were emerging, but everybody's kind of looking. They're trying to go down. Like they're trying to look down the path, and they're like, "Is there people down there?" Because you just see like the reflections of like the faces on the sculptures. And I'm like, everybody's crowded. My sister's like, what's going on over there? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I couldn't see past the person in the stroller. And she comes over to me and she puts like her head right here close to my face. She goes, Chrissy, it's not a stroller. It's not a stroller. And I turn around and look back, and it's this guy in this really high-tech wheelchair. And I was laughing. He heard me too. I felt so bad. Like he looked at me, and I'm a nervous laugher. So I'm already in tears. Now I'm laughing nervously. He's just staring at me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can't stand anymore. I'm on the floor. My sister's on the floor. My husband walks over and he's like, what's happening? Why are you guys on the floor? And I'm like, I'm trying to get the words out to say that I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right.
It's dark. I can't see very well. Like it was a very sleek,
Yeah.
like it looked like one of those super high-tech strollers. And
Yeah.
luckily, he found it funny. He was once Ken walked over and said, "What is going on here?" The
Right.
guy busted out into laughter, and he's like, "All right." He's like, "That is like the best thing I've ever seen." But it was infectious because then
Yeah.
he started laughing, and then more people started coming around, and they're like, "What's going on here?" I'm almost drooling because I'm laughing so hard. I can't hold the saliva in my mouth anymore. People were trying to ask what I did. So, but it's infectious. So that's the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make here. Everybody
Yeah.
like full discretion. Nobody was offended, nobody was hurt
Right.
or anything of that sort. It all overall it went well. But it could have not. I could have gotten
Yeah.
myself in a lot of trouble. The guy didn't find it funny. But like it spread to everybody around us. They were
Yeah.
all wondering, what was going on. And it
They
just,
wanted that.
yeah, it made people's day. Like I was somebody's story yesterday. I went and got my first mammogram done yesterday. And I don't know what to like. I've never
Welcome to the
never
club.
done that. The lady's walking me through and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, remove any jewelry and stuff like that. She's like, you don't want to have any metals because sometimes that can disrupt things. And then stupid me had like this weird panic moment. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, I have a copper IUD. I was like, is that going to be a problem? And she pressed it out. She pressed it out. She's like, no. She's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. And I'm like, oh, good. I was like, because I was worried it was like an MRI machine because now I'm awkward. I was like, I'm worried
Right.
it was like
Yeah.
an MRI machine and like it's going to come out of my chest like Alien. Like it's just going to. Luckily, she got the movie reference, which is good. But I was somebody's story that day. I was that lady's story. She probably went home and went, this crazy person. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm fine with that. But again, it's infectious. It's spreading. It causes communal bonding and it causes healing. The people closest to me in my life are the ones that I can laugh with. You guys, I've been at that point with you guys where I'm just wheezing and I can't talk anymore. And it's just, it creates bonding like no other. So it's a reminder to keep that in check, because if you keep it bottled up for a long time, like you realize you haven't laughed, apparently it comes out in inappropriate comments saying somebody in a wheelchair was a stroller.
Well, and that's that trust, right? And also, full disclosure, Christina has 2 kids, so her brain immediately went stroller. Because that's the world you live in, right?
I forgot to make that point. Yes, strollers are a normal part of my life.
Right. Yeah.
I got 2 kids, and my one of my friends has a 2-year-old daughter. My kids aren't in they're out of strollers, but
right.
They, my friend, her 2-year-old's with us all the time. And she has like one of like those fancy ones that the things hook up in and this and that or whatever like that. And then they push it around. Like my daughter's got them that she pushes. She doesn't have dolls, but like she collects like weird creatures. Like she's got a million stuffed animals and she likes to push. She has a skeleton crow she got from Spirit Halloween last year and she pushes that in a stroller.
Heck yeah. That's amazing.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, the point is you have to laugh. It is something actually when people come to me for treatments is something I bring up. I'm asking, how well are you eating? How well are you drinking? Are you laughing?
Yeah. Well, it's that purest of emotions, right? But you can't do that unless you feel safe. Mm-hmm. So you have to be in a situation where you have to let go in order to laugh and get to the point where you're in tears on the ground. You have to feel safe to be able to do that. And
yeah. And my kids were looking at me like I was nuts that night too. They had no idea what was
they're
happening.
just used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, Mom's on the floor again. What happened now? Just
yeah, they just wanted to know the story.
Yep.
So they could share it with their friends. Yeah, but that's it, right? We're getting to that point of where we're comfortable enough to do it. You have to be in that safe space, but you also have to be able to allow yourself to not be in control of the situation. And for some of us, that is harder than others, which is an interesting concept because for me, control, especially the first part of my life, control was one of those things that I didn't want to let go of. Like I needed to be in control of things. And I think when the anxiety gets high for me, and I have PTSD from different things and stuff like that, and so when it gets high, we tend to want to control something because you feel so out of control with the rest of it. And so if you can't, it's kind of like this catch-22. You have to release the control in order to get to the point where you can allow the silly and the ridiculous. And, because in order to get to that point of laughter, like you had to go through all of these different things in order to get there. And even with the kids and the coins on the table, right? You have to allow imagination to come in. You have to allow for whatever silliness is going to, be there or whatever. And And if you're not in a good headspace, you're mentally going through something or emotionally going through something, it's hard to be in there. So I feel like that's when you have to be really intentional about doing those things. And like you said, watching a movie, go in, if you need to scroll, like everybody, it's a negative thing to be doom scrolling and all that kind of stuff for sure. But if scrolling and looking at ridiculous animals or whatever it is that makes you laugh, if going into those spaces and doing that for a little bit allows you to release and get into that state, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. So there are positives in there.
I would
And
also
yeah,
throw out, because I'm, as you're talking about, your memory, some other memories are coming up that I just lost it. Also, one was in church, which is not a good thing to do when you like start laughing at your kids that are altar kids and they're up front with the priest and you're laughing at them because they're doing things behind the priest that they shouldn't be doing.
I got a story about that. Go, and then I
But I
have
would
to share that.
suggest even having maybe a laughter journal and just writing down, I can,
I love that.
there's an one instance that I remember with my brother that would not be appropriate to talk about on here, but every time I think about it, it just cracks me up. Now my brother's no longer around, but it still makes me laugh. And thing I think what even made it worse or funnier, not worse, was that nobody else at the table got it. And I literally had to go out into the garage. My stomach hurt so bad because I was laughing so hard. Nobody else at the table. And my brother never missed a beat. And the only other person that can make me laugh like my brother is my son. Right. And so I'm going to start a laughter journal. I just think that would be great. And then when I'm having one of those dumpy days of, blah, blah, I'm going to pull that laughter journal out. And, even if it's something that happens during the day, my dog does something silly or, whatever, I'm going to start a laughter journal. God, that's such a great idea. Thank you.
I love that. I love that.
That is a really good idea. I'm going to do the same thing. Like I really am.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do it, and then I'm not gonna do it because that's my MO. I'm just gonna put it right out there. I'm gonna say, yep, I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be another one of those 87 things that I try to do.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah, I've accepted my fate. There are things that I will do and things that I won't. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the neurodivergent brain or what, but yeah, but I can relate to a person because my son was like that. So, and him and I have the same kind of personality. So we would go back and forth, and I still it was 2018 when Zach died, and I will pull up videos, and I'm so grateful to have those moments where he is just cracking me up, and there's so many of them. And when you find a new one, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had this, and it's this rare little gem. Like those are the things that you hold on to. Those are the things, that matter. And even when
that could be something too, instead of a journal. Like I know I have tons of videos of my grandkids, they're all in different files on my computer, but I could go through them, find the ones that make me laugh and put them in a laughter file. So even if I didn't want to go to my journal, I could pull up my laughter file. So there you go.
I put mine on YouTube in a YouTube private playlist, and then I just go to it and
there you go.
And watch
Perfect.
It there and just upload them and do that. So yeah, I have I have one of him. It's actually, I think it's a public video of this one because I've shared it a few times, but I have one of him when he was just learning how to drive, and he would go into random voices all the time or whatever. And this was about the time that Despicable Me was out, and we watched the movie 80 million times because we both loved it so much and would laugh. So that's one of my go-tos. I'll go to that one and watch. But he was driving down the road, narrating his driving in the voice of Gru. And it was all I could do to not lose it. And he didn't like to be recorded and stuff like that. So I don't have that much stuff on him. And so I was secretly recording him. And so the video ends when he realizes I'm secretly recording him and just stops talking. He's like, are you? So even his response to me recording it cracks me up. You know what I mean? Like it's just so yeah, it's so important to be able to get to those places. You know, that's when all the endorphins are released and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you go look up the science to laughter, it is the best medicine. You know, Christina said it earlier. It is the best medicine.
Yeah, it is. And if you need examples on like learning, like seeing laughter is more like it being and stuff. Usually kids are a good example. Even if you don't have kids of your own, just go look up animal videos or kid videos on YouTube, and like seeing the world through my kids' eyes has made it very much full of play. Very much. And you can see through the three of us, we have learned laughter through them. You know, like relearned laughter in a new way through them. And like uh, um my kids are, I say they're part feral. You know, they're the most comfortable around me they can be. Like Shannon was saying, your
Yeah.
walls are let down. So they could be their truest self and laugh at their dumbest stuff because they know they're not going to be judged for laughing at it. Like my son can't handle large quantities of things. Like if we drive by and there's like a ton of geese flying, he loses all body control and everything. He just goes, ah, and just starts
I
laughing.
love it.
He
Yeah.
can't hold it in. Like it just, I don't know what it is, large quantities of anything. He gets like, it's like a mix of anxiety and laughter, but he's not going to be judged for it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to tell a story about laughter in church and how it's not appropriate, but seeing things through kids, how funny it was. So we were actually we were in Ohio for my husband's grandfather's funeral. So, and this is a large family. The Booses are a very large crowd. There was at that time 16 great grandkids.
Wow.
So like that's how much it's gone down to. So there's just kids everywhere pretty much. And there's you know, they're not like a hidden kind of family, like they need to be exposed to this kind of stuff. Like yes, people pass and everything. And you know, Opa died a very proud man. So my Ken's uncle, he asked if my kids would, you know, be part of like the ceremony. Would it be okay if they brought up like the, you know, the offering and the wine and all that kind of stuff? I'm like, well, my kids are not Catholic, so is it okay? I was like, they've not been baptized or anything of that sort. He's like,
Right.
yeah, it doesn't matter because this church we were in was very traditional, you know, like it was German American and everything was like fit, finish, aligned, and all that kind of stuff. They followed a lot of the old traditional paths, and so the whole thing, my kids made everybody erupt in laughter, which at least was good. It wasn't just me. So they're walking down because they're all ready for this special job they got to do. They got to bring down the body and the wine and all that kind of stuff. They got to bring all that down. And now you have to think about it, how literal kids take things. So, like, you know, they're saying it's the body of Christ, it's the blood of Christ, and they're carrying that down the aisle up to the church. So, my kids are holding them, and my daughter's walking down the aisle so proud with this smile on her face, like the Cheshire
Oh,
cat. Everybody's hysterical, just looking at her all. It's like just so
yeah.
much. They bring it up to the front. The priest takes it, and then my son comes and sits down in front of me because he wants to sit with my in-laws. He wants to sit with them. So he sits down in front of me, and he's just watching the whole thing transpire. So you have to think this priest is in the traditional funeral garb. He's got 3-4 layers of robes, the hat, the gold, the white, all this kind of stuff, all the decorations, the elaborate things. The whole altar is covered in these elaborate stuff. There's flowers everywhere. Then he's saying, you know, he's body of Christ, blood of Christ. There's smoke. Think about how theatrical this is to a
Oh
child.
yeah.
You know, he was 6 at the time, I think. He was 6 or 7 at the time. And so the priest goes and says, you know, this is the blood of Christ, and then goes and takes a sip. And my son goes, whoa, Mama, that was awesome. The entire church erupted in laughter. Nobody could handle it. And I'm like, okay, he said it's so loud. There was no holding back, not one
Oh
bit.
yeah.
It was so loud, it echoed. The priest was like trying not to. So we go out of the church after everything's said and done, and I talked to her, and I'm like, what was so awesome about it? Because I leave it very open for my kids that whatever spiritual path they're going to follow, I'm going to support. So if that's what he
Mm-hmm.
wants to do in his life when he chooses that, then I will be all for it. But I'm like, what was so awesome? My son took everything literally. He thought
Yeah.
that the guy was up there in this highly decorated thing with smoke, eating body parts and drinking blood.
Yeah.
And when I told him it wasn't, I was like, no, I was like, it's representation. I said, it's ritual. I said, it's ceremony. It's reenacting. I said, it's a form of sympathetic magic, they call it. Because, you can't say that to some Catholics, but it's a form of sympathetic magic. It's reenacting a ritual. It's
Yep.
enacting a physical action to reenact a spiritual thing on the spiritual plane and stuff. So you're
Yep. To bring
reenacting
you closer
the
to that.
body. You're reenacting the blood. You're taking that within your body so you can take in God and all that other kind of stuff because that's your bond. That's your life force. Blood is life force. So I'm explaining all
Yeah.
these things to him, and he was genuinely disappointed. And it wasn't what he thought.
Aw.
Even in one of the saddest situations, kids
Yeah.
turn things around. You got to learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, to give a little bit of context too, there's when you're that age, he was 7, and there's a 2-year difference, right,
Yeah.
between the two of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 7 and 5, right, going and doing this stuff, and it's a big deal. If you've never
Yeah.
been into a Catholic ceremony in general, it's a big deal. But then especially, when you add this level to it or whatever. And then if you look at what kids are exposed to just in the world and different concepts and everything else, and then uh, Christina's excuse me, family is pagan, so there's a lot of very close, tied to the earth, and then there's a lot of Nordic that comes in as well from the Nordic heritage. And so you're learning all of that historical stuff. And so for a 7-year-old, I'm sure there was like this connection to that historical past, and he was like, wow, they're doing this. Like it was just right back there.
Yeah,
But
he
it's
thought it
that,
was like next level because,
yeah,
yes, blood is used in a Norse practice, but not like there's no
yeah,
animal sacrifice or anything. But like part of like when I get myself a steak, I do eat meat. I get myself a steak, I'll save a bit of the blood and use that in my
right,
offerings and stuff. But my kids are not exposed to the blood part yet. I've
yeah,
not gone to that kind of level. I mean, as a woman, I'm gifted where I can give my own blood if I wanted to, but I don't
right,
expose them to those things. So they like already have a bit of that very different way of seeing things. And then this guy just takes it over the top.
yeah,
And
next
everyone's like,
level,
I
yeah,
want to do this because little boys love their extremes. And he's like,
right,
this is just awesome. I'm like, it was wine. I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's wine.
just
I was
ruined
like,
it
but we
all.
can do that at home. And there are a lot of things like, especially in the Norse practices, we don't have a lot of evidence actually as to how the people did practice. The only
Right,
evidence that we have is either laws of what Christianity made illegal. So we know that means people used to do that. And then
right,
the only hard evidence we have are the people that actually, when the two cultures blend together, the beauty of bringing, of blending the pagan practices and then the Catholicism practices and then what each side kept and how they blend them together. That's what
yeah,
we have remaining. So I can appreciate as much as, yes, one oppressed over the other, what people took the initiative to blend both of it together to not ruin, like totally destroy their beliefs. But well, like, you know what? I want to incorporate some of this. That stuff blend together. You can see a lot of the similarities. And
yeah,
that's what
yeah, for
exactly they
sure.
were doing. They were making the connections to, oh, we do the smoke thing at home. Oh, we do this. So they
Yeah,
felt a
exactly.
very personal relationship with it. And it just went next level.
Yeah. He just took it to the extreme. But, and that goes back to that importance of laughter, right? Like that comfort level for him, right? To go and walk through in front of a bunch of people that he doesn't know and do the thing or whatever. And then he actually gifted that group with the thing that they needed the most at that moment,
Yeah.
right? So he was chosen
Exactly.
to be there,
Hmm.
chosen to bring up, chosen to be a very special part of this ceremony that he's never seen before. And everybody that's there, what do they need the most? They need a piece of their soul to be healed a little bit. And even if it's just for that momentary relief, I mean, I was doing the same thing with Zach, with the whole family. We're telling stories, we're telling jokes, and that never stopped. That happened from day one, and it never stopped. And I think it's one of those things too, where if it's part of, if you're used to doing it, like if the walls are down and that comfort level is there, and you're able to let go enough to do the things, to be silly, to allow for yourself to not be, as put together as you want to be, because that's where in order to laugh, you have to let go of some of that stuff.
And that's
You
hard
have
to
to,
do. A lot of
it's
people, it's
really,
very hard to do because you feel vulnerable, but there's
yeah.
freedom in it. Don't be
So
afraid of
much
it.
freedom. Yeah,
Hmm.
so much freedom and power in that. And I think if you can get to a point where it is organic, so, it's just like anything else. If you practice it enough times, it just becomes ingrained, right? So I grew up in a family where laughter was very, very prominent. It was just everywhere all the time. And I think part of it is my personality, and part of it is the fact that I also was in a very open situation, and everybody in the family is always laughing and making jokes, and it was just a very safe space to do all of those things. And so when it gets to the point where it's something that is traumatic and you need that in your life, I think it automatically, I don't think, I know it automatically takes over. And it's a defense mechanism, that comes in when you need it. So to kind of sum up what we're talking about, you have to have the ability to let go. So that's a little bit of, going into that shadow work that we love so much, and and just allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And
Hmm.
that may mean for you writing down all the things that make you hold on tighter and not want to let go. Those things, and then you can kind of take them piece by piece and be gentle with yourself, because it's a lot. Whatever it is that you're holding on to it for a reason. There's something that you haven't worked through yet. So give yourself some space and some time, and some grace to kind of just allow yourself to go through those things. So it's awareness, right, of that there's the thing. Then it's intentionality, excuse me, of actually going through the process to realize, understand, and work through those things. And then it's putting it into practice. So if it's not automatically something that you're going to do, put it into practice, put it into your life, schedule it in like you would anything else. Put it on your calendar if you're not going to do it. Put it on your calendar so that you show up. And if nothing else, it's going to remind you that you have to do it. If you can't make it, or you can't, get that to-do list checked off or whatever, at least it's putting it on your radar. So it's, awareness, and just work on that vulnerability so that you can, even if that means you're just alone in that space at the beginning, whatever it is for you, where you can find that comfort level to do all of that. Yeah. Do either of you have anything else you want to add before we close it out?
That was great.
All righty. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us for this wild ride that we went on today, and which, if you've been listening to us at all, if this is even your second one, you're not surprised by this at all.
No.
Yeah, that comfort level is there. This is how we roll. We're talking to strangers that will be friends on the internet, because if we don't share, right? If we don't do this together, then how do we all heal, right? We're all connected. So thank you for being with us on this journey. We appreciate you so much, and we will see you next time.
Ciao.
You have been listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us at bringjoyforward.com, and we'd love to have you join us in our community Facebook group. Thank you for listening.